Tina Talk. I'm so glad you're joining us today. I'm really excited. We're going to be talking about language access. My top priority bill for next session has to do with improving language access in the schools. And I've had an incredible opportunity to work with amazing people that work at Open Doors, which is an agency in my district. I was like 5 or 6 years ago that we spent an afternoon meeting with families that were sharing their stories about their students. Many were on IEP and 504, and they were not having access to interpreters, and they weren't having the ability to be involved in education of their child. They weren't feeling welcome at the school, and it was very heartbreaking. And I just was so glad that Open Doors was there to advocate and support the families and to really partner with them on really important legislation to make sure that does not happen, that families get the support they need. First, I would like to welcome to the show Moses Perez. He's an amazing leader from Open Doors. He really is their advocacy leader and has been doing a lot of training with families. Welcome, Moses.
Thank you for having us here. When it comes to language access in Washington, it is actually to be compliant with federal law that came through with the Civil Rights Act. And so when it comes to language access in school settings, this setting is a particular difficult one, especially if you talk about special education. We actually have an employee at Open Doors who has her doctorates in neuroscience, taught 8 years at University of Washington. And when she had to attend her son's IEP meeting, she could not understand it. She struggled. Took her, I think she told me, about 2 years to get a good handle of what the IEP document is and how to be effective as a mother in an IEP meeting. I have a colleague who graduated with a law degree and actually worked in Congress for a little bit. And when her son was born, being neurodiverse, she had issues understanding the IEP document, the IEP process, the meetings. I want to say she says she took a good full year, almost off of work, to take care of her child and also to ensure that he was getting the education he needed. And so for our parents and families that we serve, that English is not their first language. But even if it was, they would still have these difficulties. So much more is it that important, language access in school settings. The American dream is that everybody could pursue happiness, not just life and liberty, but the pursuit of happiness. And we know that education has a direct effect with that. And so our parents need language access just like the doctor needs help in an IEP sitting, or the lawyer needs help in an IEP sitting. Much more the parents that we serve to have language access available during their IEP meetings.
Next, I'd like to give a warm welcome to Emily Fung, who is the program coordinator for advocacy and civic engagement for the families at Open Doors. And can you share a little bit, Emily, why this issue is important to you?
Thanks so much for having us here today. We're super excited to be here and talk more about language access and why this matters to the families we serve. This is a super big, important issue for many of the families that come to us at Open Doors who may be culturally or linguistically diverse. And we do not believe that being culturally or linguistically diverse should be a barrier to receiving service and protecting their children and fighting for the rights of their families.
You know, next, Moses, I don't know if you could take a couple minutes. We've been working on how do we improve things in the schools with the language access bills. And I know we've been talking about best practices and interpreters and what skills they have. Can you talk a little bit about the legislation?
This particular bill is a constituency bill. Constituents were the ones who really helped us to craft this bill. And they were the ones to really bring the needs to the forefront. And even solutions. Many of our parents were the ones who counseled us that they were needing interpreters that understood the educational sector and specifically special education. They asked us, they said, could we get interpreters that understand the IEP process? So I think legislation will largely depend upon making sure that our parents are continuously connected and that they're the ones that are providing the solutions for the barriers that they're facing.
Absolutely. I think the families understand what's broken in the system and they understand how to fix it. And I just want to say thank you for really elevating the voices of the people in the community. And Emily, I know you work with a lot of families around advocacy, and it's so important their voices are heard. How can we really help to engage and bring those voices forward?
I think at Open Doors, our philosophy towards empowering families to advocate for themselves is to first give them the skills that they need to understand the systems that they're working with, and then remove ourselves as much as possible. Our philosophy really centers on allowing people to take a step forward and then for us to take a step back and let them be the voice of change and let them explain their experiences firsthand. And the more that we are able to allow those experiences to be explained from the source without any filters like ourselves, I think then our job is done.
Thank you. And I am so excited because really on that note, I know Moses, you brought two very special guests today that I'd like you to introduce and share their stories.
Thank you, Tina. I have two super moms, as I call them, Angela Jovel and Liliana Villanueva. I will first introduce Angela Jovel at this time. She could give us some details on a specific experience that she had with the school and the school district.
It's very hard to explain how hard it's is understand English in the school because I have 3 kids and I'm working. But I try to always involved, for the schools programs and try to volunteer all the time and try to help. But when it's the IP's meetings, I want in Spanish, never give me these papers in Spanish. Always, no, you can take a Google or you can ask somebody, you have your old son, never give it this opportunity to read and understand exactly what is the goals for my son in the school. I speak little English, but it's not my language. It's kind of hard to explain exactly. I have a goals for my son. I wanted he finish his high school, but always when I ask for interpret, it is bad interpret. Sometimes, it's a half part. And I say, give me a second. I don't understand exactly, the teacher explained you something and I need to be clear. Oh, I have in my notes. Later I explain. I say, no, I need right now because this is very important meeting for me. One day I called the district. I wanted to talk to the special needs. I want to talk to in person. And I said, okay, exactly what do you need? And I said, the case manager, he's very mean. He is screaming to my son. When I ask for meeting and he said it's not necessary and always ask my son, told you, Mom, she don't need to call me so many times. Open Doors helped me a lot, invited me for the meeting. And I say, yes, exactly the time I'm there and I have a support. I have an Open Doors and I have the special needs for the district. And he checked the papers in my face. What do you want? You think I'm not professional? This is very bad experience. I'm crying. I remember this and I'm very sad.
Thank you, Angela, for sharing your story. And it takes incredible courage to share something so personal and obviously so difficult. And I am so sorry that happened to you. That was so wrong. I mean, you sound like an incredible advocate for your son. And it brings out that mom in me, just makes me angry that ever happened, and that should never happen. And I'm so glad that Open Doors was there to join you and advocate with you. And this is why we need to do the work we're doing, because that should never happen to you or any other family. People should be treated with respect and supported. And you had so many important questions that they should have been bending over backwards to answer. obviously the school was failing your son as well. And I'm just so sorry. And I hope we can really address it in the work ahead. Moses, I know we have another special guest. Would you like to introduce her?
Yes, we also have with us today Liliana Villanueva. She is also one of our family leadership participants and one of the parents that we serve here at Open Doors. Liliana has her experience with her school district, and I'd like her to share that at this moment.
My son has disability. He has an IEP at school. All the time we go to the Highland school district. They have access to language. So in Spanish, that's my first language. So first, the couple first IEPs, my son take it. So I can understand anything, anything. So I know he needed, but I don't know why. So when he go to the elementary school, he in this schools, one of the workers in there is working with Hispanic people. So she helped me a lot to understand the IEP, to understand why my son needs and why they need to do with my son. What is the correct they need to do? So I learn a lot with him, and I do the IEPs, and usually every IEP I take it, they send me English and send me the Spanish IEP too, to understand everything. So they want to know I understand everything. And I'm really happy with this district. It's opened my mind to start to learn more things to help my son. First, to advocate my son, with my son, it's start like, okay, I start with the classes for family training, leadership training. So I do that. And I'm so happy because I learned a lot about IPs, DDA, and all I need. So they help me to give me capacitation in all I need to think in. I need to take it for my son, to help my son. Because my son is the only person who know my son needs is me. And I need to do something to help him. So I stay with my son all the time and try to care him, to do his life the better I can.
Thank you, Liliana, and thank you for sharing your story. And again, you sound like an incredible advocate for your son through what can be a very complex process. I know my son was on an AP 504 and it was very difficult. And I'm glad that the school district was there to support you and translate and make it a good experience. And again, I think your story is going to help us shape the system of how it should work for every student and family. So thank you for sharing that. Emily, I was wondering if you could spend a few minutes to really explain how Open Doors supports families in our community.
Basically, what Open Doors does is we try to support our families at the intersection of race and disability. So we have a wonderful family support team that works with our parents to make sure that they understand the systems that they're navigating to help support their children, whether that's DDA or their school, healthcare related things. There's a whole host of systems that are really not easy to understand, even if you are from this culture and from this language. So we work with culturally and linguistically diverse individuals using a cultural brokerage model, wherein we employ people who are from the same culture, who speak the same language, to help relate to our parents and really make sure that they understand the systems that they're going through in a way that makes sense to them and is relevant to them. So there's a lot of ways that we do this, but in our advocacy department, this involves empowering our parents to understand the systems at the legislature and things like that, and how to change systems so that future generations of parents don't have to go through these struggles.
Again, I think you really, you speak to the changing the system, and that's really what this bill is trying to do, is make sure every family and every school district gets the support they deserve. I want to thank all the guests of the show today. It was incredible. Thank you. And I just want to give Emily and Moses a chance for you to maybe give some closing thoughts to people who are listening.
Well, thank you, Representative Orwall. We are so happy to be here, and we're so happy to have the opportunity to talk about these issues that matter to our family and ultimately our community in Washington State. We're really excited for the work ahead.
I'd just like to close. I close with the charge, if I can say that we need all hands on deck to help us pass this language access bill. Unfortunately, this last legislative season, HB 1153, although it did clear the House Education Committee, it died in the House Appropriations Committee. Thankfully, with a great team and with the support of our champion, Tina Orwall, we were able to get a budget proviso passed that gave us 3 critical components of the bill to keep this work going. However, we're not stopping there. We need the entire bill to pass to really make those systematic changes that Angela and Liliana are fighting for. This would also include to approve language access coordinators in the districts where it makes sense to have them. So if we really fix this, I would say hundreds of thousands of students will be positively impacted, including our parents. And really, lastly, I just want to say that to have true family engagement in our schools, language access is the priority for our multicultural families. Parents cannot help teachers if parents are not engaged. And the multicultural families that we serve, language access is the largest difference maker for family engagement. So thank you for having us, Tina.
Well, thank you. That was very well said. And I'm just so honored to be part of this amazing team. And I know we're going to rally as many voices as we can to participate in Olympia to really help move this critical bill forward. So thank you for being here today, and hope you will join the team.